Let's bring in Jenna Ellis. She is the Director of Public Policy for the James Dobson Family Institute, a religious-based think tank, and also with us is attorney Richard Roth. He's the founder of the Roth Law Firm. Jenna, I want to start with you. The Democrats, they're offering $5 billion for technology, more immigration judges, more infrastructure, humanitarian aid. Why is it that a border wall is more important than all of that?
I don't think it's more important. I think that that's part of the comprehensive package. And President Trump not only campaigned on that issue, but I think that we have to define what does border security mean in the context of Congress's legitimate obligations of government to preserve and protect the American family and individual rights. And so this is basically President Trump sitting Congress down in a room and saying, here are your parameters, negotiate, conflict, resolve, but these are the things that I'm willing to accept. And that's our separation of powers. That's our constitutional parameters.
But Richard, as long as we're saying we're willing to give the same amount of money as long as it doesn't go to fund a wall, doesn't it serve the president's point that it's all political, of not giving him this victory lap, of showing that is fulfilling yet another campaign promise?
It is political. Let's be clear. Everything that's being done today is for 2020. There's no mistake about it. But yesterday, there was a report, the Worldwide Threat Assessment of the U.S. Intelligence Committee by Daniel Coats. And Daniel Coats, who actually talks about what the problems are and what the threats are in the country, doesn't have. That's
not political? Just asking.
Listen, it's done every year. The answer is it's not.
Okay.
The answer is it's not. The answer is that they list every single problem that the U.S. has, every single threat. And if you go through here, it's cyber, it's China, it's Iran, it's Syria. The border wall I don't want to go so far as to say it's a fiction, but it's pretty close to a fiction. And Donald Trump has to fulfill that promise because he wants to be reelected. That's what this is about.
But what about the argument that Donald Trump says, yes, maybe these other things might help, more immigration judges, again, more technology, drones, et cetera, but there will still be some people who could be stopped from a wall?
Then you know what? I agree. Let's do a wall. But why does he have to have this $5.7 billion number in the sand? That's his line. You approve $5.6 billion. I'm not going to approve it. What should happen, and Jen and I agree on this, let Congress, let them do what they're doing, which is what they're doing now. Let the Senate, let the House sit down in committee, bring it to vote, and vote. And if they vote on $2.3 billion and Donald Trump vetoes it, so be it. But the problem with the system right now is you have a president of the executive branch that's dictating what the legislative branch should do.
But Richard, you know from negotiations and from being an attorney, you have to draw your line in the sand. Because if he didn't and he said, I'm willing to compromise for less, then you know that that's all that the Democrats will be willing to put up. And so he has to draw his line in the sand to say, here is the least that I'm willing to offer. That may not be the ultimate resolution and compromise.
Yeah, the problem with that, though, is there's 800,000 people that have suffered because Donald Trump's line in the sand.
He gave them 3 weeks. He gave them 3 weeks and said, here's a limited, finite period of time where we can come together in good faith and negotiate. But Congress needs to do their job.
Is it good faith when the president says it's either you give me my wall or all of the other things that you may agree on, including the technology, the judges, the infrastructure, the humanitarian aid? That doesn't matter.
But I think that that's where he's standing firm, and he's saying, give me something, and he's willing to look at it. He has extended the hand of friendship and separation of powers and bipartisan, country over party. Those were the 3 key words of his Rose Garden address when he talked about this. And so if Congress comes up and they together, then
but what if they don't come up with
one man's extension is another man's cave. The bottom line is he caved. Jen and I were on the night before that he had to make this decision, and I honestly think it was the right decision by Donald Trump. You can't sacrifice 800,000 people. I'm not talking about in 3 weeks. I'm talking about in December and January, the Christmas and the holidays in January for the wall. You need to do what they're doing now. Let them go. Why is February 15th such an important date? Why doesn't the president allow Congress to do the job? If it's February 20th, if it's February 25th, it doesn't matter. Let the process work. And the problem is Donald Trump doesn't allow the process to work. It's my way or it's the highway, and that's the problem.
Doesn't give them a deadline.
Eventually, whatever comes out of the committee.
He may not. He may veto it, and let him veto it. Here's what they're afraid of. The Republicans are afraid, and Mitch McConnell is the biggest culprit. They're afraid that if they bring a bill out, and it's $2.4 billion, and Trump vetoes it, all the Republicans look bad. And that's the big problem.
Well, that's a great question then for Jenna. Should we just all agree that no matter what these negotiators come up with, yes, Mitch McConnell in the Senate and Nancy Pelosi in the House, they should bring it to a vote, regardless of what the president says.
Absolutely, and that is where the separation of powers actually works, because if Congress actually had country over party, then they would force the executive to then negotiate.
Here's the problem. To Richard's point,
look at the Constitution.
The problem is they don't want Donald Trump to look bad. He's going to be the Republican candidate.
And it shouldn't be about politics. It needs to be
policy. But will you then come back on the show?
We agree. Jen and I agree.
We're going to invite you back. Let's suppose that they do come up with some sort of agreement out of this committee, and Mitch McConnell says, Donald Trump's just not going to sign this, so I'm not going to bring it to a vote. Will you come back on the show and say, Mitch McConnell, you're wrong?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And he is. The problem is that he's sacrificing the strongest Republican candidate they have for president.
Mitch McConnell, listen to Jenna Ellis. Listen to her.
I do.
Policy advisor, yes.
Some sort of a barrier equals losing 2020 for the Democrats?
I think no. I think no, not at all.
No.
I think the Democrats have to listen. Nancy Pelosi has her own issues. The Democrats have to build some kind of wall, and I think Chuck Schumer is really middle of the road, if you will. They need to put some money up. There's no question about it.
A virtual wall, you know, with lasers and technology.
But they need to be focused on border security, not politics.
Jenna Ellis and Richard Roth, great to have you both. Thank you.
Thanks.